You have these people up in the Emerald Triangle who, are outlaws, multi-generational outlaws. They've been growing this plant for 50 years, since the late 60s, early 70s. They've been the ones championing the plant. At one time, like in the late 80s and the 90s, they basically supplied 60% of the domestic product. I mean, because that's what these dudes do. They just go up in the hills, and they say, fuck the government, and they grow weed. So, and now as the industry has become legal, and especially in California, you got all these big ag and big pharma interests. They're growing this big greenhouses, and they've driven the price of marijuana down to like $500 a pound. So it's like stuff that these guys at one time in the late 80s and 90s, they were getting $5,000. Now it's like $5,000 or 500. So they're trying to basically turn cannabis into the next tomato, I guess. I don't know. So, when I heard about that, it like really pissed me off. So that's why I'm doing this docuseries, because I'm like, to me, it's like an industry culture thing. So it's like, these guys are the culture. I'm a cannabis dude. I'm a psychedelics dude. That's my culture. You know what I'm saying? So this industry is like co-opting the culture. And these guys in the industry, man, they're like these dudes, I mean, they don't even smoke weed. You know what I'm saying? They just got money. Some of them are ex-law enforcement. Some come from big business or whatever, and they're just jumping in this game to make money. And I don't blame them, whatever. It's capitalism. You're always going to have a Jack Daniels, but at the same time, I'd like to see these small farmers. I'd like to see this craft cannabis, kind of market develop. So these guys, these guys gave their life away, man. They sacrificed to the plant. You can't just kick them to the curb and be like, oh, fuck you, we're taking over. I did 21 years in prison, but I tell people, I say, I was not a criminal. I was an outlaw. I broke laws that I thought were wrong. I didn't break laws just for money. I didn't carry a gun. I didn't have a criminal organization. I wasn't a mafioso. You know what I'm saying? I'm not knocking any of those guys. They can do what they want to do. But, I stood on what I believed in, and those were the laws that I broke, because I thought cannabis and psychedelics should be legal. And lo and behold, 30 years later, so now I look back like I'm really justified. Like, I was in the right, as an 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old man, I stood on that ground. I got 25-year sentence. And now, whatever. I had to do all this as a snitch. Me and you do a crime. I get busted. Right? I tell on you to get out of it. We're both involved in it. That's a snitch. That's a rat. Right? If I'm standing on the corner and some dude drives by and runs over a little girl, and I write the license plate down and I give it to the cops, I'm not a snitch or a rat, because I'm not involved in that crime. I'm a citizen in that situation. I got some historical perspectives where, I can point to, because like, they had the John Gotti situation where like the dude killed his kid and John Gotti didn't say nothing. John Gotti just whacked him. Everybody knows that. It's never been proved or whatever. But, so that's the hardcore angle, is if you're an outlaw or a gangster or a criminal, you're just going to take matters into your own hand and do it outside the law and not involve law. But I'm saying if you're not involved in the life anymore, you're just being a citizen, man. So I'm not going to, some kids in the hood, when the grandma calls and says they're selling crack or drugs in front of her house, they're going to call the grandma a snitch. But the grandma is really, she's not a snitch, man. She is not involved in the criminal activity. You can only be a snitch or a rat if you betray the code of the criminal activity, that you have the unspoken code with the other person you're committing the crime with. I manifest stuff. I manifest reality. I put words into the air, and I'm always positive. I'm always moving forward. I don't care about the past. Fuck the past, and I don't care about no negative shit. I don't let that shit in my life, right? So I say what I want to do, and then I do it, because if you don't dream it, if you don't say it, if you don't work towards it, how are you going to get it? And if you're always holding on to that could have been, that would have been, or that shit in the past, you're never going to get where the fuck you want to be. So you got to leave that shit. Everybody, dude, like I say, I did 21 years in prison, whatever, man. You know what I'm saying? I brushed that fucking shit off. My first career as an outlaw, I saw really early that, free drugs were cool. So first I was just getting other people's money, and I could figure out if I went and got it, I could keep my own money and maybe pocket some of their money. And then eventually I figured out, I think the biggest thing with drug smuggling is you buy stuff in one place and you take it to another place where you can make a lot more money. So I found that out, you know, probably by like 16. I was like, hey, you know, I can buy this weed in Texas and I can bring it up to the East Coast and I can make $1,000 a pound, you know. And it was the same thing like when I went on tour, you know, and I got the LSD connects. It was like, hey, I can get this stuff sent from San Francisco, you know, to the East Coast, you know, and I can pay like 30 cents a hit and I can sell it, you know, for whatever, 90 cents a hit, you know. But I'm doing like, you know, I was doing like, you know, basically like 10,000 hits a month, you know, like 100 sheets. Started in 91. And, you know, and let's be honest, it was just because they were getting some pushback because they were putting so many African Americans in prison that they started getting some pushback. So they were like, okay, boom, you know, we go out to the suburbs too. And, yeah, because I never thought, dude, I never thought I would. First off, I thought I was too smart to get caught. Second off, I was like, you know, I don't carry a gun. You know, I just sell weed and acid. You know, what the fuck? You know, everybody in college, that's all we do. We fucking party. You know what I'm saying? Weed, acid, and alcohol. So that's kind of like an American rite of passage. So, yeah, I was kind of fucked up. Like when I got my case, and they're talking like 20 to life. I'm like 20 to life. I'm like, for life, you can kind of get like the blinders on, and you start going. And you only see stuff one way because you're grinding, whatever you're doing. You know, if it's a workout, if it's trying to establish something, if it's a relationship, you're like boom, 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 boom. So when you take like mushrooms or acid, like it takes those blinders off and it makes you like look all the way around and you consider other alternatives. So yeah, I really like them, man. I think they're therapeutical. I think something like mushrooms is like for like marriage counseling and depression, you know, PTSD. I think it's an amazing benefit. You know, acid, LSD, like if you want to get a little bit more introspective, like, you know, maybe if something happened to you or, you know, like, you know, some people, they're just fucked up and they might not even know why they're fucked up, you know. So with acid, like under the right, you know, guidance, like under the right setting, you know, like under a doctor or a physician or someone who, you know, a trip guide or whatever you want to call it. I mean, they can take you into those, you know, dark recesses of your souls to like figure out like why you're hurting, why you're fucked up, and then you might be able to talk about it. As a big sports guy, you know, so, you know, back then in the 80s, you know, we had these things called newspapers.
Right, paper newspapers.
You know? So people might not know what a newspaper is nowadays.
I still get the paper.
Everything's digital, but you know, every day I would flip right to the sports section, and when you flip to the sports section, right before the sports section is the Metro section. So sometimes, you know, I might flip to the Metro section on accident before I got to the sports. And I remember seeing that all these people committed suicide, like in this place, it's called Great Falls on the Potomac River. You know what I'm saying? In Northern Virginia, Potomac River goes out to the Atlantic Ocean. And so I, just like through my teenage years, I don't know why this stuck in my mind. It'd be like, oh, you know, like every 3 or 4 months, like they committed, this was like a suicide spot. They would jump in the river. You know, and it was like class 5 rapids, and there was lots of rocks. So, you know, if you didn't get smashed on the rocks, you know, you would drown. You know,
so if you don't get whacked on the rocks, you'll just fucking drown.
Yeah, so,
I would hope to get killed on the rocks.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's kind of, you know, disgusting to say in a way, but it was like a popular suicide spot. So I just stuck out in my mind for whatever reason, like over the years. So then when I got into this situation, where it was basically like, you know, go to trial, face 20 to life, you know, plead guilty and cooperate and maybe get whatever. They said, you know, my lawyers were telling me, oh, you'll still get 4 to 6 years. I'm like,
you would have got 10.
Yeah, or more. And then, or, you know, just take off. So, you know, I didn't like option number 1. I didn't want to go to trial and get 20 to life. I didn't want to fucking cooperate. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I want to look myself in the mirror every fucking day. You know, I didn't want to bring anybody else into my fucked up situation. And my third option was like fucking run.
I would have went with 3 too.
So
what do you have to lose, right?
I was like, fuck it. You know, I was like, fuck these motherfuckers. So, you know, I had that suicide thing in my head. For some reason, it popped up. And, you know, I'd already been getting fake ID, you know, because I was under 21 for like colleges. So I already had like some fake IDs and stuff like that. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to plan my suicide. I started dropping hints like I'm going to, you know, commit suicide, you know, and different stuff like this. And I staged like all this shit. And I went to the banks of the Potomac River and I made a little setting and I made it seem like I jumped in the water. I actually, some people were walking down the trail. I like ran out. I was like, my friend jumped. And then I ran And I had a friend waiting for me. He took me to the airport, and I jetted to L.A. and just read the had weed. So I had like 3 pounds. So we go and we drop off this 3 pounds with this dude, and I'm waiting for him to bring the money back. And my buddy had like a little weed. He used to sell weed for me, and he was supposed to drop it off at this restaurant. But what happened when he went to go in the restaurant to drop it off, like the dude, they were too slammed, like the cook, so he couldn't drop it off. But I didn't know this. So I thought we're good. We're just waiting for money. So we're waiting for the dude to bring me the money for 3 pounds. So we pull in St. Charles behind this Burger King, and we're fucking smoking a joint, waiting for the dude to come back. And, like a lot of drug deals, fucking dudes taking forever. So, we smoke a couple fucking joints, because we're about to go out and party anyhow. We're just waiting for the money. And just so happened, like a week or 2 weeks before, this Burger King, because it's like closing time, like whatever, 9 or 10, they had been robbed through the back door.
Oh, fuck.
So they see us, and they fucking, they call the fucking cops. Cops comes, it smells like fucking weed. We don't have no weed in it. We'd actually smoked all the fucking joints. So I was like, whatever. And my buddy told him, yeah, search the car. And then they searched the car, and this dude got like a fucking half pound of weed in a guitar case, and they find it. So they arrest us both. They take us both down to like the St. Charles County. And my friend, he does the right thing. He's like, it's my car. I just picked him up. He didn't know anything about it, even though it was my weed. It was weed that I fronted to him. So he owed me for it, but he did the right thing. He got me out, but they printed me. So, and also at this time, like, I had no idea I was top 15 U.S. Marshals list, dude. I was like a first-time nonviolent offender, like weed and psychedelics. Like, what the fuck am I a top 15 U.S. Marshals list? Like, that's crazy. I didn't carry a gun.
Well, Matt Cox, you know him. He was 1 or 2. I think he was number 1 for a period of time, and there was no violence at all with him.
It's like crazy how they make these decisions. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, what the fuck? So, I had no clue. So actually, I got out. I went and fucking got the money for the 3 pounds, tracked that motherfucker down, and went and bailed my buddy out, and fucking got his car out of impound. But then I had no idea. Like 3 days later, they matched up my prints, and they had the fucking Midwest fucking U.S. Marshal Fugitive Task Force was like on my ass. And, they couldn't find me because I was all like fake IDs through like, basically like mailbox, etc., P.O. boxes for all my addresses, right? But my buddy, it was his real ID, and even though he didn't live where his ID was, it was like his grandparents' house. So they went there. Then his grandparents convinced him to turn himself in. Then he turned himself in. He started cooperating to try to get out of it. He started driving him around St. Louis, St. Charles, to all the people that I sold weed to. This time I got like 20 pounds. I'm like fucking hiding out in a hotel, like, by the airport, trying to make this drop. I'm trying to get somebody to come buy all this fucking weed from me. I just dropped this dude like 5 pounds. The U.S. Marshals roll right up on him. And he's like, oh, I was just they're like, this dude? Yeah, I was just with Seth. Yeah, he's in this hotel. So they come, they stake me out, for like a night. And then they bust in the morning to fucking get me.